Greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night right here at the Sports. Um, hey, the sun is shining on both sides of the street. Padres are on a winning streak. Uh, what else? Let's see. Well, let's get Dave up here and talk about what else is going on. So, there you go. How you doing tonight,
Hey,
Dave?
doing all right. Had a beautiful day down here. Pirates actually won a game yesterday.
you, you know, this morning I went to physical therapy, and the guy that picked me back up, coming back, he had on a Dodgers jacket. So we kind of talked baseball for a minute, and the last thing that he probably says, well, it could be worse. We could be the Pirates. I was just, and I'm thinking, here's a guy all the way out here on the left coast, talking, seeing how bad the Pirates are, and then he said, well, in 2 years he'll either be in a Dodger uniform or a Yankee uniform. So,
Well, the Rockies, though, they are really doing bad.
yeah, well, no, this guy was a Dodger fan. I guess
Right.
he was born in L.A. You know, and he likes his LA teams. But yeah, it was funny to me. He was talking about the Pirates and the Marlins. He was talking about both organizations, and I'm like, it, and then of course we had to talk about the pitcher's clock and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he's one of those diehard guys. You know, you know. The second, I mean, he understood they wanted to speed up the game, but he's one of those. He put his black socks on right there in the car. So you know,
Well, the pitching clock doesn't bother me so much, but it's the extra innings putting a guy on base.
yeah,
That just doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah. I mean, the next thing, what are we going to do? We're going to play. What's that? You put the ball on the stand and you hit it. You don't even need to pitch
T-ball.
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. I can understand speeding up the game, but if you're a baseball fan, and it does help if your team is winning. I look at like how the Padres were out here when I moved out here in 2003. And they were just usually they were at the bottom of the league then. You know, but now like they have no trouble filling up the stadium because they're winning. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen if they don't. I don't think they're going to get to a series soon. But you have some very good players. You have some very young players, and the crowd has actually changed. Before it was guys like us, the old guys and stuff. Now it's relatively young. They have family night. The kids go out, and they're out in center field. They have a big playground, set up for them and everything. And I mean, there's restaurants in the stadium. Hey,
It's nice. No, I think that's a good change, though.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it would be nice, if maybe we would turn over the controls to some of the younger people if that's the audience. I don't. I think it's kind of unfair to ask for people of our age and older you know, to try to keep up with the ages, especially with how quick things are going. I mean, technology is, like boom, 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 boom. It's not waiting for anyone.
Right.
So I think, maybe it's time to turn it over to the grandson, or, you know, get somebody that you want to mentor. Yeah, I mean, like, teams like the Pirates, maybe a few others. I mean, even the Dodgers. I mean, you have got a young conglomerate. Magic Johnson, and guys about his age, which I think is, like, those are the ones that they would be more likely to have their hands on the pulse than we would. At
Yeah.
least that's
No,
my opinion.
I agree.
Well,
So,
let's
hey,
see.
Mickey Delaney said hey to both of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. Do we have a Sue's Corner tonight, Dave?
Do. We do. And since it's draft week for the NFL, Sue's Corner is related to the NFL draft. So Sue says, Mr. Irrelevant is a term that Paul Salata, a former Colts player, coined back in 1976 to name the last man drafted in the NFL draft. There's a celebration event for this, and there's even a trophy, the Lozman Trophy, which depicts a player fumbling a football. A side consequence to this occurred in 1979. Because of the big publicity deal made out of having the last draft pick, it became appealing for teams to get that number. They wanted to have that last pick. In 1979, the Steelers had the last pick, and the Rams had the next to last pick. The Rams wanted it for the publicity, so they passed on their selection and let the Steelers go ahead of them. The Steelers wanted it too, so they passed and put the Rams back into the last place. This went back and forth several times until Commissioner Pete Rozelle instituted the Salata rule, which now prohibits teams from passing on their pick for the purpose of having the last pick. The Steelers won that one. It was a guy named Mike Allman, who was the 330th player picked out of Northwestern Louisiana, but he never played for the Steelers. He didn't make the roster. But not all Mr. Irrelevants are irrelevant. Just ask Brock Purdy. And that's Sue's Corner.
Yeah, Sue always comes up with some little nuggets like that. I never knew about that trophy.
Well,
That's why.
I know that they celebrate it. You know that they would make a big deal out of being Mr. Irrelevant. But I think he's Brock Purdy is probably the best player to be the last player picked.
Yeah, I do believe that. I haven't seen anyone. Let's see. Yeah, I think he is the most successful that they've had so far. Just looking at some of the stats here. So, yeah. So, where are we going here? I was going to talk a little NBA, and I know you're not really up on the NBA too much, so we might as well bypass that right quick.
All right.
So, but do you watch any NBA, Dave? Do you know any of the players or keep up
No,
with them?
I really don't. Occasionally, I'll recognize some names, Jokic and stuff like that, but I just don't watch NBA. I get my fix of basketball with March Madness, with
Uh,
college ball, and I like international ball, like when they play in the Olympics. I'll watch. To me, that's more entertaining basketball than the NBA. I just doesn't appeal to me.
So, do you watch a lot of college hockey or wrestling or?
I watch a lot of wrestling. I follow Penn State wrestling, and now with the we've been talking about the transfer portal with football and basketball in college. Well, now it's reached out to all the sports, including wrestling. So um, there's a lot of movement of the wrestlers because for the last few years, Penn State has been at the very top, and Oklahoma State and Iowa, they've been trying to catch them, and so that they're trying to get wrestlers through the transfer portal and with NIL money. So that it's interesting because wrestling is not a uh, sport that's known to be a revenue producing sport in college sports, but the transfer portal and the NIL has definitely impacted them.
Well, I know very little about the college wrestling, and I don't know if our audience does, but let's give them a quick course. Now, so uh, let's talk about how other things have also affected wrestling, or is it? Are there co-ed? Is it co-ed wrestling now? How did Title IX change college wrestling?
Well, what Title IX initially did is it destroyed over 330 college programs that they dropped wrestling as a varsity sport. Because at that time when Title IX first started, the idea was for women's sports to have an equivalent number of scholarships, and so the universities, they didn't want to impact basketball or football, in terms of the number of scholarships that they were given. And then who got really hammered were men's sports that you didn't have a women's equivalent. So like men's wrestling, um, uh, men's gymnastics, and things like that. Those sports, a lot of them lost their programs. So what wrestling did is they started encouraging women's wrestling. And so out of Maryland, where I live, there was this woman wrestler, Margolis. She Olympic gold medalist, but she was like a phenom. And so now they have varsity wrestling in the NCAA for women, and it's a pretty it's a growing sport. So with men's wrestling, by doing that, it's helped stabilize the loss of programs in college. And now you're starting to get some schools to get them back, like out west on the West Coast, like USC, UCLA. They all used to have wrestling programs, and they were all dropped. The same thing in the Southeast Conference, like Alabama, Georgia, the southern states. A lot of them had wrestling teams that they no longer have. But now, with the men's wrestling kind of encouraging the development of women's wrestling, the sport is making a comeback. So they've stabilized the loss of programs, and so I think it's better for everyone. The other thing that they've done, and the NCAA I think has done this with most of the sports, is they put new limits on the rosters. So like in college football, they're limiting the Division I teams to in football to 105 players on their rosters. They can't carry 150 or 200 players anymore. So the same thing in wrestling. They're limited to 30 wrestlers, and they have 30 scholarships. Now, the downside to that is that's kind of destroyed the walk-on programs, But with the transfer portal, a lot of these wrestlers, if they don't think that they can break in, like Penn State's lost like 3 or 4 wrestlers this year that have gone to other programs because they didn't think that they would be able to start, and so then they found colleges where they could. So again, the effect that that's having is it's spreading out the talent pool, to different colleges.
Well, don't you think that's a good thing? I mean, I
Oh
remember
yeah,
the only thing you heard was Dan Gable. You know,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it definitely, because Oklahoma State, Iowa State, they won all these championships in the past, and there were very relatively there was a lot of schools that had wrestling, a lot more, but there were very few powerhouses. And right now, Penn State is the powerhouse, but you have other schools like Iowa, Oklahoma State, that are becoming stronger. And part of that is because of the transfer portal. So to me, it's a good thing because it's making it more competitive.
what about NIL money? Is there NIL money available for wrestling?
Yeah, not like in football, but an example. This year, there's a kid. He's still in high school. Bo Bassett. He's from Pennsylvania, and he was shopping around, talking to 4 or 5 schools. Penn State was one. Iowa was another. Rutgers was in the running. I think Virginia Tech. And he ended up signing a deal with Iowa for $5 million. He's a high school kid,
Chevy.
and he got a $5 million deal to wrestle for Iowa, which is huge. And then he has a brother that's a very good wrestler, and he'll attract others to that program. And but most, that's kind of the exception, having that amount of money. But there is NIL money, $1 million, few hundred, thousands of dollars. Not quite like football is, but it's there.
Okay.
because
Now,
because I mean, the thing that I would add is for the wrestlers, the college wrestlers, a lot of them are preparing for international competition for the Olympics, and then to compete in the Olympics. But then also in the off years, you have the international championships to compete around the world.
okay. I see
Yeah,
Don's
there's
here.
Don.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my volume up. Hang on. I've had a rough day.
Yes. Oh, so you had my phone. Dishwasher.
Yeah. So now, getting back to wrestling till Don gets settled.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. How you doing tonight, Don? How's everything down there?
Stressful. I've had a rough 2 hours, so I'm good.
Okay.
I'm fed now, so I'm good.
Okay. uh, so we were kind of talking about some other things just because I know Dave wasn't familiar with basketball, so Donna, I get to ask you now about some of those things that you were involved in. How's your strength and conditioning going with
I'm
the
I'm not
program?
I'm not doing that currently.
No?
That was last year. Yeah. I moved on from that.
Oh, okay. So where are you now? As far as
Well, I changed jobs. I'm working in a transitions program now, so I'm on a different campus. Same district, different campus.
oh, okay. So the teachers change campuses according to need.
Yes.
Okay. All
In
right.
my case, it was make $5,000 more. So why not?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
a capitalist. I like money. I like to travel.
uh, so, do you miss that interaction with the kids, or
Well,
have you found a
I'm
different thing?
I'm still working with kids. It's just it's a different group now, different population. So um, my kids now are mainly special needs. So I work in the life skills transitions program.
Do you find that more fulfilling?
Yeah. Oh, definitely,
Along with the money.
definitely. They're children of God, and so that's kind of like I guess my ministry. I guess I call it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, anything we can do for our children, I'm all for it. Dave, you got anything you want to ask Don before we get to our other stuff here?
Well,
Uh,
you know what I was curious on with the special needs. You know, I guess you're working on life skills, but do they have any sports programs for them?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, we have a track meet in 2 weeks where we compete. It's like it's a Special Olympics. So yeah, we're doing that. We have some contacts in the community of we have what we call a unified team where they take like basketball and track and they take uh, special ed kids and like combine them with regular ed kids and they compete. It's um,
Cool.
there's several schools in our area that have that program, but my district was the first one to come up with it. So we're like pioneers in it.
huh, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, guys. Let's talk a little football here.
I think we'll
Don.
talk basketball. So real quick, I know y'all were
Oh,
talking y'all were talking basketball earlier. You always ask me if I hear anything about the Spurs or what's going on. So Popovich was having a dinner at one of the local steakhouses, and he fell out of his chair. He fainted, lost
Oh,
consciousness, and so he got carted away to the hospital. He come find he had some of his body chemistry, but he ended up passing out. But that's that's a lot more rumors that he's coached his last game. That's the overwhelming conventional wisdom. It's gonna be hard for him to come back from not only did he have a stroke, but now he's passing out during dinner. And you play all these basketball games, the stress of travel, the stress of you know telling the referees to go fuck off. I mean that's stressful. You know, so
how old is he?
76.
Hmm.
So if I make it to 76, I won't be coaching basketball. I won't be coaching anything. I'll be uh,
you'll be doing what I'm doing, Don. You know, once you get to that point, you talk about the things you can't do anymore.
yeah. Well, that list gets longer every day, doesn't it?
you I'm,
The key is to find a younger woman.
uh, so, Don, I got to ask you also when you're talking about the Spurs, you guys have a young guy down there that's going to be possibly a rookie of the year. Uh, so, I mean, what are you doing about next year if Pop's not going to be there? As I thought Pop would actually, I thought he'd show up at the last game, and
Mm-mm.
they'd all wait, wave to the crowd, and I won't be back next year, But so, have there been any announcements as to the time and when he'll turn over the reins, or
Well,
I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, I think he will, God willing, make that last appearance in front of the crowd.
we know the Spurs. Well, it's almost a delicate situation. The Spurs are not going to fire Greg Popovich. He's going to have to step down on his own, and
Oh yeah,
yeah. So, but there's been some speculation that the Spurs might go outside the box in the hire. Um, the Spurs have always been into bringing in players from Europe and from Africa and from I think they had 2 or 3 from the Middle East, and so there's speculation they might go to Europe to get a coach. Um, I don't know if you watch any of the European leagues, but I've seen a few games, and those guys they played the same type of basketball that Popovich preaches. It's all about team. There's you know um, you have to have that mindset that there's not going to be a superstar. There's going to be guys who play like superstars, but none of them are going to take that. Even we had Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan, you would not know that Tim Duncan was a superstar. Well, just looking at his stats, but the way he
right.
behaved, the way he shared the ball, the way he passed, the way he hustled, and he wasn't a ball hog. He wasn't shooting threes or anything like that. He was just playing good, fundamental basketball, and Spurs won 5 championships with him doing that. And they had a guy named Parker and a guy named Ginobili along with them also, but I mean that helps.
So now there was speculation, like you said. I mean, the Spurs are wanting to go out of the box, and I believe one of Pop's assistants uh, was a woman. I forget her name.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I said they're going outside the
Was it-
box. They're not going outside. They're not going outside their mind. I mean,
All right.
we're not that damn progressive. But well, maybe if she identifies as a man, they might look into it. But
All right.
no. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go to Europe and get someone from Germany or France or Italy. Italy plays good basketball too, so might be Italian. Might be someone from Israel. Israel has a very productive pro basketball league too, so we'll see.
Yeah, but there's a lot of those little countries that Pop went to Estonia, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like
Poland, Lithuania.
yeah, so there might be, it should be very interesting to see where the Spurs go, because they do have a great foundation. If was it Wembayaga? Uh, if he hadn't got hurt, and like I said, you got a young kid that's going to be a future, right now, a future superstar. So we'll see what they have going on. Uh,
Yeah.
so guys, let's talk a little football here, and see what you guys think. Uh, my man from the Broncos, actually, Clint from the Daily Dose. He'll be on next week, and we'll go over draft picks, since Denver is picking at number 20. So it should be interesting to see what happens there. But the NFL Network reporter Bucky Brooks says that Jerry's guys should draft uh, Armand Membu. He's an offensive tackle out of Missouri, I believe. Don, you hear any rumors out of Dallas about you know well, about not only who they might draft, but what's the deal with Parsons? I mean, what the hell's going on with Jerry?
No, Parsons has been showing up to their mini camps and stuff. So I'm not too worried about him. He's they're going to work out a deal. They're probably talking as we speak right now. But so My belief is Dallas needs some help in the back seven on the defense, linebackers and DBs. They do need some offensive linemen. So if someone says, well, they're going to draft this tackle out of Missouri, they should do it. That's the key word, should. Jerry Jones will say, yeah, we need an offensive tackle, but I'm going to get Matthew Golden as a wide receiver. I mean, the shiny object on the table is what he's probably going to go after. If they do get an offensive lineman, if they do get a linebacker or DB, I would be happy and I'd be surprised as hell that they did it. But I'm thinking, they need a tight end. And this draft is very top heavy with quality tight ends. So I don't know if you get a tight end in the first round, but second, third round, you probably want to grab a tight end.
Yeah, it is very deep in tight ends. Don, I want to kind of regress here and talk about one of the rules that they've adopted, or yes, they have adopted it already. And that's the new rule about the changes to players faking injuries. What do you think? I mean, it was. Well, I forget what game was that. The Oregon game that
Yeah,
that came up in. Yeah, yeah.
it came a bowl game, wasn't it? Wasn't it a bowl game?
There was one game I think it was during the regular season first,
What
and then
was it? Oregon Washington was that?
yeah, I think that was the game, and then uh, Oregon wound up winning the game.
Yeah.
Because they were still ranked number one at that time too.
So the team in Texas that does that all the time is Baylor. The Baylor Bears. They're notorious for that. The idea of punishing teams for that, it's great. Probably needs to be done, but the question is, how do you prove he isn't hurt? That's the thing. Well, we talked to the trainer, and the trainer says he's hurt. So, I mean, I don't know how you would. I don't know how you would fix that. The rule is now if you walk off the field, you have to miss a play. Maybe you walk off the field, you miss 5 plays, or maybe they could tweak it. But proving that someone's faking an injury, you're gonna be hard pressed to prove that.
Well, I mean, the other team goes in the huddle and they come back out, and all of a sudden the player falls down.
Yep.
I mean, Dave,
well, if he falls down, he could be going to cardiac arrest. You'd have an aneurysm. We don't know. I mean, that's the thing. You can't prove he's. We've seen soccer players dropping dead in recent years. So I mean, just on the field. So just because they fall over, doesn't mean they're faking it.
Okay. So once again, we come to like you said, how do we enforce it? Because, there are things that, you can't tell just by looking in a player's eyes. Dave, what's your thoughts on this? You watch a lot of college ball.
Yeah. I just want to say, Bo must be listening. He says at 76 he'll be souping up his hover around scooter.
Look, hey, you got you guys all know that I am older than 76, right?
James, I've known you.
Go ahead.
I've known you, 12, 13 years. I've never asked your age. I have no idea. But if you're older than 76, I hope I look that good when I'm 66. So
yeah, well, I turned 78 this year. I intend to live to 101.
There you go.
But so I try to do as much as I can. But hey, we're not all wheel bound and eating cream of wheat in the morning. So even though I do have dentures here, but
got to keep on moving.
That's the thing right there. They keep on moving, and if you can't move, do something with your mind.
There you go. Yeah, but with this new rule change, I agree with Don. It's like how do you enforce it? but I think it's a good effort at deterrence, because I guess what they're saying is if they've placed the ball and the medical person has to come out, and if they believe that the guy's faking, you could lose a timeout, or if you're out of timeouts, it's like a 5-yard penalty. So I guess the idea here is some deterrence, that you're taking the risk that you could be penalized for that. But one of the problems is, how's that going to be consistently applied at all of these college games? I don't have the answer to that.
Should
And then
we have
also,
should we have independent medical personnel? I mean, because
well, in the
Taylor,
NFL, they've done that for head injuries, where there's a independent doctor, not aligned with either of the teams at NFL games, to kind of help with the concussion issue. So that maybe, I think what they're trying to do here is they're trying to have like a real time effect on deterring these people faking the injury. But then it's kind of like, well, what happens if the person's not faking? And or all of a sudden, are you going to have players trying to get off the field on their own that shouldn't be, because they're afraid that their team's going to lose a timeout or be penalized? So it's just going to be interesting the way it's enforced this season, and whether there's any examples to see how it goes. I think it's going to be one of these that they're going to have to continue to try to adjust as they go along. And Don mentioned soccer. There was a while back where it was really getting out of hand, these players feigning injuries, and then they started penalizing it. And then that started to reduce the number of times you'd see these guys like, rolling around all over the field. But then that started to run into problems, and now you're starting to see that more. And it's just one of these things of where a coach, anything to take advantage of a rule, if it's going to give you the advantage to stop the clock, allow you to get your defense set up if the other team's in a hurry up. I applaud their effort, and hopefully it'll have a deterrent effect. But I think we'll just have to see how the season rolls out.
okay. Dave, Calvin Dickey's Jr.'s parents are suing Bucknell University following the death of Calvin 2 days after a 2024 team workout. Dave, how do you think these tragedies can be avoided? As you said, we've had a couple of players, that have been found to have different heart conditions. We found, certain players that are afflicted, with blood clots and things like this. Uh, Dave, I mean, I would think. Uh, maybe some of the smaller schools like Bucknell and that might not have that type of personnel on hand. But I would think that by now, most of your football teams have team doctors. They do a lot of things that they didn't do. When we were all, perhaps playing different athletics. They look for different things. You have different stress tests, things like that. But there's always that possibility. What do you think? I think sometimes football gets a bad rap. A couple of years ago. I don't know. It might even be part of the things now. That a lot of parents were discouraging their kids from playing football because of the contact and different things like that. What do you think about cases like this, Dave?
Well, my first question, when I saw that was, well, how many players have died, college players? So I took a quick look, and according to one study, since 2000, 33 college players have died, either at practice or playing. And out of those 33, and that was from the National Center for Catastrophic Sports Injury Research. And out of those 33, well, 27 were non-traumatic injuries. So 6 of them they were either in a game or a practice where they got like a head or neck injury. So it was a traumatic thing. That's one thing. But here I think we're more talking the non-traumatic. And 27 player, I mean, that's one a season. And I know at the University of Maryland, they had a death a while back, and that completely transformed that program. As a matter of fact, Matt Canada became he became the interim head coach because they fired the coach that was there. And because they say that the 27 non-traumatic, there was heat stroke, cardiac events, asthma related, but it was usually from intense workouts, and most of these were from practices, but they were from all different times of the year. And now in 2018, the NCAA, they put in stricter guidelines to screen for conditions like there's a sickle cell trait that, and I'm not sure if it's the same thing that Ryan Clark had, where he can't go into high elevations, because then he
Right.
risked, he almost died. So I think what the NCAA is doing is you're trying to screen heavier before the players are given permission to play, and looking for things like we've lost players due to heart valve problems, like the John Ritter syndrome, where they have a bad heart valve, and then once they're exercising heavily, then you lose them. There's a sickle cell trait. So there's probably a category of areas that they need to do heavier screening. And so what I don't know is that since they put in these stricter guidelines in 2018, has that actually impacted the rate of injuries and deaths, due to non-traumatic things? But I think what they're going to have to do is to continue to tighten up on that. I don't think that you're ever going to have it's a collision sport. It's never going to be perfect, but in the early 1900s, the game was almost banned outright. It was almost made illegal because of the number of deaths that were happening among college players. And so they changed a lot of the rules, and we have the game that we have today. But I think that they're going to really have to stay on top of it. And I think that pre-screening the players is important. What they've already done is they've gotten rid of, like when I was playing, like in high school, we used to have 3-a-days. Well, I don't think that you can have 3-a-days anywhere. I don't think you can have 2-a-days anymore. You can't have them in the pros. And so what they've done for practices is they've decreased the amount of time that a coach can have his players out on the field practicing. They've decreased the amount of contact. You don't have as many Oklahoma drills, for example, going on and stuff like that. And I think that you're going to continue to see these efforts. And I'm sure, like with the lawsuit, it won't only impact Bucknell, but it's going to it'll impact all the programs, whatever comes out of this lawsuit.
What do you think, Don?
Well, I think a lot of these deaths are, to me, just my opinion, are attributed to heat. Um, of all the players who died, I haven't done a study on it, but all the players who died, how many of them died below the Mason-Dixon line, like south, like Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Florida. Um, Football is a violent sport, and catastrophic injuries. But think about hockey. Hockey is, to me, more violent than football. But they play indoors and they play in cool weather. They're on ice. I think a guy got killed a year or two ago. Got his throat sliced by the blade or something like that. But I mean that happens. But I think it's heat related. And of course, if your body gets overheated and you have a pre-existing condition like heart issue or like they were saying the sickle cell condition, then yeah, that probably exacerbates it. But I mean, the only way you can combat the heat is adjust your practice times. Now, like this morning, and we're not in summer yet, but it was nice and cool in the 60s. In both my high schools I've worked at recently, they've eliminated afternoon practices. They practice in the morning. School starts at 9. They practice from 6 to about 8, and in the afternoon, that's when they do their weight program. They go and lift weights and that stuff. But the actual practice is in the morning. So if you go to our high school after school, you won't see anyone on the field except for baseball. Baseball is different. Baseball,
Yeah,
softball.
yeah, those are much different. But
Yeah, but just my opinion, I think um, the deaths that we see are heat related, one way or the other.
I'm sure if we were to like really examine these 27 non-traumatic deaths, that's probably that had a big impact. They attributed it to intense workouts.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it was combined with heat. One of the big changes that they made from the old days, and James, I'm sure you can remember this, is when they would, drinking water was like a sign of weakness.
oh my goodness,
You'd be out there during 3 days in August, and they wouldn't let you drink water until the end of the session.
right.
And probably one of the best, it probably saved a lot of lives, is when they say, no, somebody needs to drink water, you let them drink water. And we know a lot more, but we still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, we talk about the game getting soft, but we also want the safety of the players. I don't know. I think a lot of times trying to, as we all know, trying to avoid getting hurt is the best way to get hurt. So, you know, uh, and one of the things that surprised me, because I thought it would be, you know, all of the big guys like this kid here, Bucknell, but it's also happened to a couple guys that were not that big. I think one kid was a cornerback or was trying out for corner. Uh, I'm surprised that a lot of those aren't also uh, running backs, but we don't practice the way we used to. So,
Well, look at the Buffalo defensive back that almost got killed.
Yeah,
Not last season, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. He had a heart, but now because of him, we have high schools with the defibrillation machine, and I mean he has a grant that gives programs those machines now. So that's something that some good that's come out of it. But it's uh, sometimes it's hard to know. When I had my first heart attack, I didn't know. I just laid down for a few minutes. And I thought it was all right. Come to find out, the next day I had one that night, and I was having one at that particular time. So, luckily I didn't pass out or anything like that. But those things sometimes are subtle, even though they can be very deadly. So, you guys, we also have a talk all the time about different uh, rules that should be made. So, what do you think should be maybe the biggest rule change in college football? Not necessarily, be it for speeding up the game, be it for whatever reason that you might think of, that there's a reason, that there's some rule in the college game that we should look into, other than, of course, the guys faking it. Uh, Don, what do you think? I know a lot of rules have changed. What do you think is the most important rule, or the rule that should be changed?
Oh wow. College football, and I can't speak for like from Pennsylvania and California where y'all are from. Texas, the Texas high school football goes the same rule book that the NCAA does, except for it's 12-minute quarters, not 15. But that's the only difference. Um, so I'm so used to watching high school football that I really can't think of a rule I would change. Um, I know that um, a lot of schools, or maybe it's the NCAA, but they're eliminating the chain gang. They're going to go digital down markers. Have y'all seen that?
Right, right.
I don't know if that's the way to go. I mean, this is one of the things that used to sing on the field. But I think that's nationwide, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I kind of see that rule thrown out because I guess me being old school, I just love the chain gang.
I think the rule, and I think that they might be doing it, but the rule I would like to see them change is the communications between the coach and the quarterback and the defensive captain. They should be able in college, because there's been all these stinks about stealing signals and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, just do it like the NFL. Allow the coach to directly communicate to the quarterback or to the defensive captain to call the plays. And I think that would be a positive move for college football.
I know they had a discussion about coach and quarterback. I don't know if there was ever a discussion about the DB captain. I mean, that might be interesting to see. But
Well, I mean, to me, if you're going to be allowing communications between the coach and the offense, then you should allow it with the defense.
yeah, that
fair
would
is fair.
seem logical. I mean, but
I mean, that's
sometimes.
what they do in the NFL. You have the defensive player with the green dot, and when you see the green dot, that's the guy that's receiving the communications from the sideline.
Yeah, well, uh, I think football is one of those. I think the NFL has tried to keep up with the technology as much as possible, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think they're pretty much on top of the game. Like you said, now I had been wondering last year, maybe the year before, when they would start using the technology for the first down. Uh, we saw some terrible first downs last year, you know, during the playoffs and sometimes even before. So let's see. Yeah. Don, Mr. Ewers, we've had all the talk this week about Shadur
Shador.
Stevenson. But Don, Quentin, where do you think he falls among you? I mean, we've had Dart, Milrose, all these guys here, but not a lot of talk about Quentin. What's your thoughts here?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I listened to a podcast, a UT football podcast, on my way home from school today, and they were asking this roundtable, where's Quinn Ewers go? And said, well, they had roundtable about four guys. They're all sports writers for our different UT sites, and they had him go anywhere from the third round to the sixth round. And
Hmm.
so it's like, wow, because I mean, that's a big difference going third round, sixth round, and in the preseason he was I guess number 3 QB that was talked about, and he led his team to the playoffs. He did get injured for 2 games. He was out 2 games with the abdominal strain, so we're really not sure why his stock went down, but it did. But he's had a great combine. I mean, he's testing
Yeah,
well. A lot of places are looking at him. So I'm going to kind of split the baby there and say he goes in the fourth round probably. I think he's better than that. He's
he started out as probably about a second round. They were
yeah,
predicting going to
yeah.
second and third.
But any team that gets him is going to get a good quality guy. Now, will he be a superstar? Will he be Tom Brady? No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't. But I mean, he could have a long career like Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's one of those guys. And Kirk Cousins, is not a bad quarterback. He's average to above average. I mean, people will like sign him and try to play him. So I think he might have that kind of career where he'll go to a team, maybe make the playoffs a few times, but probably won't win it all. But it's just speculation. He might shock the hell out of me and be the next Tom Brady, or he might be like Colt McCoy. Just been about 16 years in the league as a perennial backup. I mean that, and there's what, that's money. That's easy money. So, um, but they had that same roundtable. I know we're talking about Ewers, but there's a receiver named Isaiah Bond, and they had him go in the second round. Well, he just got charged with sexual assault and battery,
Oh,
and so I don't know. Have y'all heard that one?
No, I
no,
haven't
no,
heard that one.
not
No.
that.
Oh, oh.
Yeah.
He,
Well,
he,
we're Sports Crib After Dark, so I'll give you the rundown. He met this lady at a hospital, and she was visiting some sick, and he was there for a checkup, whatever, doctor's office, not hospital, doctor's office. And I guess he liked her, so they exchanged phone numbers. They start talking, and they got on a date, and they end up having sex once. Went on another date, and I won't get too graphic, but there's a sex act that he wanted to perform that she didn't want to, and he did it anyway. This particular sex act, and she said that hurt. I'm in pain, and he said, "Well, if I give you $1,000, will make that pain go away." So he offered her money,
Mm.
and she called the police and reported for sexual assault. So it's kind of she said, he said, whatever. I mean, but these team owners, the general managers, they're going to run away from a guy that um, has that hanging over his head. The NFL they don't like uh, sex assault. They don't like domestic assault. They don't like gambling. Um, so I mean, all this stuff that the NFL is trying to stay away from, he went out and did something stupid.
But
So
but Don, we just had a kid that committed suicide
yeah,
under almost the same circumstances because he was supposedly sexual assault, was supposed to be a high draft choice. Uh, the NFL dropped him, wouldn't let him go to the combine, and the young man committed suicide. So I mean, Anna, I mean, I understand that no means no, but do you destroy a young man, because of that, or do you give him some type of sex education? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? This seems to be becoming a little more prevalent.
well, the kids these days, they are they're raised with a whole different set of rules than I was raised. I mean, I would never offer one of my sexual partners money afterwards. I mean, that's just well. Then she said no. She said no. Well, she said no to the $1,000, and he said, "How about 5,000?" So he upped it up. And I'm like, dude, I mean, that's like, you don't. I mean, I don't know, but you just don't get. There's no way you can force young people to make right decisions. If I could, I would, but you just can't do it. They have to, find the stuff out themselves. And I say he's a kid. He's, I guess, 21, or 2021, but still, you gotta have some judgment. And I don't think we're teaching our kids judgment.
Yeah.
We're just not doing it. I mean, something's going wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
and for the player that committed suicide, I feel really bad, but I think that there is something else wrong. I mean, because basically it's like, okay, well, you weren't allowed to go to the combine, but does that mean that you wouldn't be able to eventually play in the NFL? Uh, and maybe get signed as an undrafted free agent. I think that there must have been something else going on in that poor kid's life for him to take his life over that, because it's not worth it. I mean, okay, it was costing him money is basically what it comes down to. Because if
Well,
you don't go to the combat bond, you don't get the recognition, but it doesn't mean that you still don't have other ways of getting to the NFL. And
but it might not have been the money that maybe it was that broken dream, chasing that dream, and then seeing
well,
that.
but what I'm saying is his dream shouldn't have been broken. I think that there was something, there had to have been something else going on with him to take such an extreme action uh, uh, to I mean, very unfortunate circumstances. And for this other player, I mean, the difficulty is in today's world, doesn't matter what went on before. The moment that a girl says no, then you got to stop midstream. Whatever it is that you're doing. It's a little bit different than when I was younger, and it's tough, and it's a tough lesson. And hopefully, the measure of character isn't avoiding trouble, isn't avoiding some type of uh, doing the wrong thing or anything like that. The measure of character is how you respond to that. When you make a huge error, then that's when your character is tested, and how do you get beyond it? And I think that this is the lesson that a lot of younger people are missing. You know, they're just, this is the end all. Okay, this happened. I made these circumstances happened, and now my life is over. Well, no, you're being measured now. How do you respond to what happened? Whether it was your fault or not, you found yourself in a circumstance that hurt you. And the true measure of character is how you overcome that. So I feel really bad for those situations, but um, there we are. I mean that they were happening, when we were young bucks too. I don't think that this is a new phenomenon.
I'm not saying that it's a new phenomenon, but coming up in a whole different era. I mean, I came up with, the Jack Tatums, the Lawrence Taylors, and stuff. I mean, I can't imagine, Atkinson, like having his cocaine dealer come to the stadium and deliver it.
Yeah, I think what's different is that the teams they're not sweeping stuff under the rug. They're not looking the other way. And I think, there was a lot of stuff going on that, well, the teams basically said, hey, that's an off the field issue. That's not our problem.
Yeah,
And
maybe we should ask Don about the old Cowboys, huh?
yeah. Well, I mean, literally, Mike Irwin, he literally stabbed a teammate with a pair of scissors in the neck because they had a barber at the clubhouse, and a player that didn't have the standing of Michael Irwin was took the seat instead of giving it up to Michael Irwin. And his response was to stab the guy.
Yeah.
And nothing happened to him. No suspension, no. He could have killed him. He stabbed him in the neck.
Well, that would that would have been a different story if you had killed him. But few stitches, among teammates. What the hell is that? I mean, but so I kind of I kind of don't want to put my values on today's players like I mean but I guess we would probably the scandal area arena of football then, but I hate to say it, guys, but when we were having two-a-days and the coach, putting his foot up your rear, I think we had less injuries and we had better teams. But
yeah, and because you were too tired to get into any nonsense after that. You just wanted to go to bed after that.
Hey, you guys had one of the best. Was it Doc Doc who for the Pirates?
Oh, Doc Ellis.
Yeah.
It went tripping on acid.
Oh, yeah. You know what?
I mean, my we tried it all.
I saw a documentary about Doc Ellis pitching while tripping. They need to make that to a movie. Seriously, that needs to be a movie. They did that movie with Kim Costner for Love of the Game, where he's pitching a perfect game and thinking about all the stuff that goes on. But I think they should take that same concept and do that, and they have Quentin Tarantino direct it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at all the rule changes that would be made, You know, I don't think there's a lot of. I don't think Jack Tatum could have played football today. You know, where would
No,
George
it's a different
where would
sport,
George Atkinson be? You know,
right?
Conrad. where, you know, where would those guys be? You know,
Turkey Jones, pile driving Terry Bradshaw into the.
oh, you know, hey, but you know, like I said, fun to watch. You know, so uh, so let's talk about what's coming up. Tomorrow is draft day, of course, and the NFL Bucky Brooks says, like I said, that the Cowboys should draft an offensive tackle, but we don't know what Jerry is going to do. So I'm going to pick on you now, Dave. We've
All
been
right.
going through this Aaron Rodgers mess. You know, I've been so frustrated. First of all, that we're even down to this point, and now he's come out in public and said, you know, well, you know, I got some problems I need to work through. I don't know, you know, maybe I should retire. You know, uh, but Dave, it's Wednesday night. We got a draft coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, well, Ken Sterner, he says in the comments, "Hey guys, big day tomorrow. Hope we get Harmon or Grant with our first pick, preferably after trading down."
So, what do you think? There, you know, as I kind of went to you here. What are you thinking? Trading down? We actually need it, not putting quarterback aside. We needed a corner. We need a running back. We've lost Najee. We need a wide receiver, even though we did pick up Metcalf at a price that I thought might have been a little too high. But regardless of that, he's here. So what do we do, Dave?
Well, first, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers first, and here's the thing. I think it's much more drama for the fans than it is for the team. He met with the team. He met with Mike Tomlin and with Omar Khan, um, and then he related when he was on the Pat McAfee show, about his personal issues and that he's waiting to decide. And I'm sure that he had the same conversation with the Steelers, and that's why the Steelers basically said, "Hey, we're in no rush." Art Rooney II said, "Hey, as long as you're signed by training camp, no worries." I think Mike Tomlin had a little earlier urgency to it, but I think here's what's going to happen: the Steelers, they're not counting on Aaron Rodgers. If they can sign him, they'll sign him. If they but what they're going to have to do is they're going to be drafting a quarterback in this draft. Now, I strongly believe that the Steelers are looking for their next quarterback in the next draft. But because they only have two quarterbacks on the roster right now, and with the unknown, they're going to have to draft a quarterback. In the meantime, after the draft, they'll sign Rodgers if he's available to be signed. If he's not available to be signed, well then, and they're already talking about Cousins. There might be some discussion with Kirk Cousins. And after June 1st, his dead money cost goes down. So that might make it easier for the Steelers to make a trade with Atlanta for him if Aaron Rodgers is not available. Now, in my final mock draft, and I was glad to hear Don mention Ewers, I had the Steelers picking Ewers in the fourth round, and that seems to match what Don was saying. Now, you mentioned cornerback, running back, and wide receiver. Really, in the first round, the biggest need that the Steelers have is defensive line. and they got hammered this last season. They could not control the run at the end of the season. Cam Hayward's 36, and so I would look at the Steelers drafting either Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon. And if neither of them are available, maybe Walter Nolan in the first round. I'm not sure if in terms of trades. Now, Omar Khan, he's an unknown factor. We can't read him like Kevin Colbert. You know, we had 20-year history with Kevin Colbert and had a better idea of what he would do. He's a risk taker, Omar, and I don't see him trading up because simply that they don't have the capital to trade up. If anything, they'll trade back. The question is can they find a trading partner in order to trade back? But I firmly believe with their first pick that they're going to go with the defensive lineman. Their next pick, which is in the third round, they've for their visits, they entertained a lot of running backs. 1/3 of the players that they brought back to Pittsburgh to visit with the team were running backs. So I believe that they're going to pick a best available running back that's in the third round. Omarion Hampton, he's going to be long gone, but maybe you'll have somebody like R.J. Harvey or Dylan Sampson, somebody like that, the third round. Quarterback, I think that they're going to go in the fourth or fifth round. I had mocked it as the fourth round, and then they're going to fill other needs such as cornerback that you mentioned in the later rounds. Now, there's also been talk about trading George Pickens, and that's a possibility. I don't. Omar Cobb and Ken Sterner, he mentioned Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. A lot of people like Caleb. If he's available in the third round, I would snap him up. But trading George Pickens, the difficulty that creates is now there's going to be pressure on the Steelers to draft a wide receiver higher up in the draft. And already they're needing to draft a quarterback, they're needing to draft a running back, and they're needing to draft a defensive lineman. Now, if you trade away Pickens, maybe you get an additional pick for him, but now you're going to have to pick a wide receiver. Whereas if you don't trade George Pickens, you don't necessarily have to draft a wide. You could maybe use the 6th or 7th pick for a wide receiver rather than using a third round pick. So it's one of those issues, there's a lot of people that say, oh, just trade Pickens. Well, you're creating another hole. Pittsburgh learned this last season whenever they traded Deontay Johnson in order to bring a cornerback into Pittsburgh. And they got their cornerback, but they created a hole at wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver, that they never filled for the rest of the season. And I would hate for them to do that again. Now, with Omar, you never know. So that's the way I'm seeing the draft. First a defensive lineman, then a running back, then a quarterback because of the quarterback situation. And then for the remaining picks, they'll fill out other needs. But they only have 6 picks. If they are able to trade back, like with say a trading for somebody's 31 pick where they can stay in the first round or get a high second by trading back and getting an additional pick further down. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that, simply because the defensive line group is pretty deep. But I would hate for them to miss on the opportunity to have either Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant on the team.
And now,
And I didn't mention Shador at all.
No, I'm going to talk about Shador in a minute, but I want to finish talking about the Steelers first, because you mentioned something there that kind of my thinking is a little different now. Uh, when you mentioned maybe a quarterback in the fourth round or something like that, but can the Steelers afford to give up a sixth round pick for Kirk Cousins, even though he might be on the market and we might be able to get him at a decent price? And I like Cousins much better than I like Rodgers. If it were me, that's who I would be going after. But this is the Steelers that we're talking about. So if, let's just say if, I mean, well, Kirk Cousins is I think, on the market. Uh, we've given up a second for Metcalf. Would you think that the Steelers are even entertaining giving up their sixth round for Kirk?
Well, I don't. They're not going to make a trade before the draft. Any play for Cousins won't happen until after the draft and after they resolve Aaron Rodgers, whether he's going to retire or not. And so, if you're talking a six-round draft choice, you're talking 2026, where Pittsburgh's they have more picks. Plus, they should be able to get up to three, maybe even four compensatory picks, depending on how the next season goes. So they'll be in a much stronger position to expend 2026 draft capital than they are in 2025. And I don't see them trading for Cousins before the draft. That's going to happen after. Now they could trade Pickens before the draft, but that would be for the purpose of gaining another draft pick. But again, the problem with that is you're creating a hole, that you're going to have to fill.
Okay, all right.
So Dave,
All
I
right,
got a Dave, I got a
Go-
question for you. You said the Steelers are looking at running backs to take a running back. In that little round table I was listening to podcast, they said Jaden Blue, one of our guys at Texas, will probably go in the third round. Has Pittsburgh shown any interest in Jaden Blue?
I believe that he was one of the running backs that they brought into Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Now he's fast, extremely fast. He's good. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. The problem we have with him this year is he had 2 games where he had 2 fumbles. He was having a hard time holding on to the ball at times this year. He got better as the year went on, but Stark put him on the bench for fumbling the ball because you don't fumble in Stark's offense. Yeah, that's a no-no. But I think that's one of those issues that can be worked out, through whatever.
Yeah, Bashul Tootin was another running back that they have interest in that they brought in that also had fumbling problems. And so I don't, at the end of the day, what they do is they use a combination of best player available and position of need.
Right.
And so come the third round, I anticipate that they're going to be looking at, okay, we need a running back. Who are the best available running backs? And if it happens to be Jaden Blue, then it could be him. My buddy Ken, he's looking for Caleb Johnson. I had mocked Dylan Sampson in that position.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Guys, there's an assistant coach that says that Shador was the worst interview he has ever had. Like I said, we talked about Shador. One thing, I mean, he has kept his name, out there in the news. Some good, some bad. This is one of the bad. But what do you guys think? Is it Shador? Is it Dion? Or he just had his jersey retired in Colorado. I mean, to say that this is the worst interview that you've had during your whole entire coaching career, and this is a guy that didn't just start yesterday, even though he's an assistant coach.
Well, he did do it anonymously, right?
Yeah, he did do it anonymously. But
See, here's the thing, and this is something that Sue, we were talking earlier today. Whenever she was, she wanted to talk to me about her Sue's Corner, but she brought up the example of Dan Marino. And when Dan Marino was coming out of Pitt, I mean, he was really, really highly regarded. A lot of people wanted the Steelers to select him, and then all of a sudden there was this, oh, he's been smoking marijuana. There was all this news all of a sudden coming out about Dan Marino, and then his value dropped. And then Miami ended up getting him. And so, the question is like, there's been multiple stories coming out about, oh, Shador Sanders, the worst interview I've ever done. The worst. And oh, his ego can't be controlled, and there's all this stuff, and it makes you wonder. The other way to look at it is it might not be Dion, it may not be Shador, it may be other teams trying to devalue him so that he drops, so that they can pick him up.
Well, psychological warfare going on.
Exactly.
Well, the thing about Dan Marino is that he bombed that Wonderlic test, the IQ test they give. He bombed it. I don't know if y'all remember that. He bombed it. They're like, whoa, is he special needs? What's wrong? But there's a lot of factors. I mean, Jason Garrett, I think, scored in the top 3 of all time in that Wonderlic test, and he didn't have a career like Dan Marino, so there's that.
But now,
Have you ever tried to take? I've taken those sample Wonderlic courses, and you're under the time pressure. That's the difficulty with them. You're being timed, and I guess some people are better test takers than others.
I'm gonna. You know what? Tomorrow morning, after I have my second cup of coffee, I'm gonna take that damn test. We'll see how it goes.
Let us know how you did.
I will.
Well, now, Dave, if he's there at number 21, do you give a thought? Do you, we need a quarterback. If not Dion at 21, I mean, if not Shador at 21, is there another quarterback at 21 maybe? Or what's your thoughts here if he's still on the board at 21?
Yeah, I mean, if Shador Sanders falls to 21, I mean, Mike Tomlin has said some very nice things about meeting him, and he said he's not going to throw anybody under the bus. And what it comes down to is the Steelers' evaluation of Shador Sanders. And the example I would use is Lamar Jackson. 30 other teams didn't think that he was a first-round quarterback. Baltimore did. And I remember when Baltimore picked him, I was happy because I didn't think much of Lamar Jackson. Well, look now. I mean, it turns out that whoever was evaluating Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, they made the right call. And so if the Steelers seriously need a defensive lineman. And if Shador Sanders if somehow drops to 21, I don't think he is going to drop to 21, but if he does, then it just comes down to how did the Steelers evaluate him? And do they believe that he's a first round pick? And so then if they select him, then I have to believe that they really think that they got a steal. Now, whether that works or not is a different story. But I'm hoping that they're not faced with that choice, because I think that they really need to work on the trenches. They need to build the lines. And Cam Hayward, he has maybe 2 more seasons left, maybe.
Uh,
And
but
he's the best. He's the best lineman they have.
TJ Watt, dispel the rumors, please. Tell me he's going to still be in the Steeler uniform.
Well, I mean, the Steelers have the money, which also I don't understand why they didn't tag Najee Harris, but that's another story. But they have the money to pay him. It comes down to how they value him, and you know, Cleveland has kind of set the mark, $40 million a year. Personally, I don't think that TJ earned it. You know, we needed TJ to step up big in those last 5 games, and he didn't. He didn't dominate the field.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that the Steelers are probably going to offer him something less than $40 million a year. And now it comes down to, hey, is that acceptable to TJ Watt, or is he going to walk? I think that both Pittsburgh and TJ want to be in Pittsburgh. TJ would rather be a Steeler for life. But he's already given him one discount. And he's not going to, because he stopped negotiations early on the last time that they negotiated a contract. But there will come a point where it's like, well, hey, you're ripping me off. You know, he may value his worth more than what the Steelers offer him. And if that happens, then you run the danger of losing him. But I think that the Steelers are going to try to keep him, and they have the money to keep him.
Okay. Don, speaking of money, and the Cowboys, they're kind of pressed up against the salary cap. They took, you've got Dak, and so far your backup is the kid from New England. Uh, Don, where do you think Jerry's going to invest his money this year? Other than Michael Parsons, of course.
Well, like I said, they need to. And I hate to say this, but because I like the guy, I love Dak Prescott. He's a great human being. Been a fan, but they need to cut him loose if they want to advance. Overall as a team, they have a lot of money invested in Dak, so that's be
$60
very
million.
yeah. It's a very intricate situation they got there. So they're I don't know. I'm not a math guy. I'm not good with numbers, but even I, who is like I said, not a numbers guy, even I can see that the Dallas is going to be crunching. And I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. If they got to get that left tackle, I mean that's going to be a shitload of money. That's a top 3 paid position in the NFL,
Yeah.
left tackle. So I don't know. I wish I had an answer, but I don't. It's
You
mind-boggling.
lost your 1,000-yard running back too. Rico Dow. Rico's gone. You tried to. I mean, you got some some guys to take his place, but he's the only 1,000-yard rusher that you had. I mean, running back maybe.
Well, yeah, they need a running back, but I don't know if they'll draft one. I think they'll probably go free agent if see what's available, and then they might trade for one. But I don't know. It's just they like I said they need another linebacker. They need some help in the secondary. They need some offensive linemen, and again they need tight end. I like to be a tight end, but it's just there's a lot of needs. Quality backup quarterback that should be be groomed to take over eventually. They got a lot of holes. So we'll see. What they don't need is a wide receiver, but
Well, you
that's
know what they could do. What they could do is Jerry could draft Tyler Warren, who's a tight end, but he's a heck of a receiving tight end.
yeah, that'd be
Might be they're what are they, the third pick or fourth pick? What pick do they have?
Who's Dallas?
Dallas.
the fifth,
Dallas is where are they here? Where did I say?
fourth or fifth.
Somewhere down there. Let's see. Where's Dallas picking?
I mean, Tyler Warren is probably a top 15. I don't think he's a top 5 pick, but he should go in the top 15.
So you're saying they should go get another Jay Novacek.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey guys,
I wanted to ask Don something though.
go ahead, Dave.
This is going back to the tackles. So they had mentioned that Armand Membau from Missouri. But I wanted to see how you felt that Kelvin Banks from Texas stacked up against Membau and Will Campbell from LSU.
Well,
is he comparable to them, or is he like a step behind?
Well, the three you mentioned, I would put Banks number one. Well, he won Lombardi. He won the Outland. He's a 4-year starter or a 3-year starter. I mean, that guy, he's legit. I mean, he started as a true freshman. So I would say he'd be number one. The guy from LSU, number 2. The guy from Missouri, number 3. That's just my opinion. And I'm biased because I've seen Kelvin Banks play, every game he's played since a freshman, and I'm always watching the line play, because I'm a lineman, and so he has good leverage. He gets under the pads. He's got long arms. He doesn't give up sacks. I mean, he's an elite player with the blue collar lunch pill mentality. So that's what I want.
Can he both play on the left or the right, or is he just on the left?
Yeah, he can play either. But he gets drafted. He's going to the left. But yeah, he's versatile enough to play either. One thing about Kevin Banks is, of course, this isn't anything about athletic ability, but it's always about the kind of person he is. I mean, he's a very tight family guy. His mom has been battling cancer for the last 3 years, and she wanted him to come back his senior year and play. He goes, "No, Mom, I'm gonna go make money because I want you to enjoy." So that's the kind of guy he is, and I'm wherever he goes, I'm going to cheer for that team. If he goes, I think he's projected to maybe go to San Francisco. That's last draft I heard. So that'd be nice.
Anything else you want to cover, Dave?
No, that was it. Appreciate it, Don.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Anything you want to cover, Don, before final thoughts?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, let's start with Dave. There, Dave, give us your final thoughts.
Well, I'll give you a preview of the rest of my week. Tomorrow morning, I'm driving from Maryland up to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to meet with Ken Sterner, who's actually making some comments there on the feed at Dino's. And I'm going to have some chicken wings there. They got some of the best chicken wings I've had, and I've had chicken wings all over the country. And after Dino's, and we're driving up to Pittsburgh. We're going to dump one of the cars there because he lives in central PA. And then we're going to go to Stage AE, which is right outside of Acrisure Stadium for the Steelers draft party. So we'll get to see the first night of the draft in Pittsburgh. They're going to have some former Steelers there as well. I think Kuntz, the long snapper, is going to be at Stage AE as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Then Friday morning, Ken and I are going to drive to Canton, Ohio to go to the NFL Hall of Fame. And after touring the Hall of Fame, we're driving up outside of Cleveland to a buddy, Scott Juba, who's a Steelers memorabilia collector. So we're going to watch the draft over at Scott's house and get to check out his memorabilia collection. And then Saturday morning, we're going to meet with another Steeler fan in the Cleveland area, Brandon, have breakfast with him, and then we're going to head back to Pittsburgh and then tour the Heinz History Center and try to keep up with the draft, probably, the third day of the draft on our phones. But I'm really looking forward to the weekend. I've been up to the Steelers draft party before, and it's a really cool experience. And then next year, Pittsburgh is going to be hosting the draft. So I'm really hoping to be able to be up in Pittsburgh whenever they host the draft. So that's the rest of my week.
Yeah, my buddy says they're already getting the point ready and all of that for the Steelers draft next year. The point, they'll probably have most of the musical events down there for the Steelers, but it should be a great experience. Pittsburgh is a great city to visit and a good city to live in. You did mention Clownland, but you were talking about visiting Steelers fans up there, so I'll forgive you for going that close to the opposition. It sounds like you're going to have a very busy weekend. Maybe you can send us some pictures when you're, if he lets you take some pictures of his memorabilia, and maybe some pictures from the party. I'm sure, like you said, if there's Steelers there, you're probably going to see LC Green. What's my man with the cowboy hat?
Mel Blunt.
Yeah, he visits a lot of those events also. Yeah, so sounds like you're going to be very busy. Hope you got a designated driver there. You guys going to be putting a lot of miles up too. So
Indeed.
you have a wonderful weekend there, Dave. And we look to hear about some of your travels next week. Don, take us home there, my man.
Okay, my final thoughts. So, as you know, both y'all, my nephew played football at Oklahoma State. His senior in high school, he went up there for his recruiting visit. And one of the guys who was hosting him was the receiver. His name is Justin Blackman.
Oh.
And Justin Blackman was the guy who took over for Des Bryant and actually had more yards receiving than Des Bryant. But my nephew thought, oh, he's a good guy. He got to see around. He was like the name guy on campus, him and Braden Whedon. Anyway, Blackman went to the NFL. His rookie year, he did pretty good, but then after that, the wheels just kind of fell off. So last weekend, a man was arrested in Stillwater, Oklahoma, on the side of a street, intoxicated, mumbling, mumbo jumbo, whatever. And the cops pulled him over and said, "Hey, where are you supposed to be?" He said, "I'm supposed to be here." Where's here? Well, I'm heading to Stillwater. Sir, you are in Stillwater. Well, then I'm where I need to be. He's kind of talking nonsense. And he asked for ID. It was Justin Blackman. Now,
Yeah.
okay. So, Justin Blackman had, he's known in Stillwater. People would know if they recognized him. The problem is he's obese. They had a call. They arrested him for public intoxication. They couldn't get the cuffs on him because his wrists were too fat. They had to bring in another vehicle because he was too fat to get into the police cruiser. Sad, and I saw pictures on there. I said, "That's Justin Blackman. That's not Justin Blackman. It's Justin Blackman." So it's a shame because he was from Ardmore, Oklahoma, it's a small town. I've been through there many times. It's actually one of the nicest towns in Oklahoma. I can't believe I said that, but it's not on the turnpike, so you don't run you don't need to front alignment after you go through there. But it's a sad story. I mean, he's had some substance abuse. I think he's done some drugs. He's alcoholic. He's broke. So sad
Sounds
story.
like he might be diabetic also, it sounds like.
Well, it could be. So
He's
So-
the only two-time Fred Biletnikoff winner.
yes. Yeah.
Oh man, I
so-
heard that story, Don. Oh,
Yeah, go to the internet and look at the pictures. You wouldn't recognize him. So my final thoughts. That's kind of, I guess, a cautionary tale. Take care of yourself. If you sign a big contract, invest it. Buy precious metals. McDonald's franchises never go out of business. Just build. Invest it, and so you have something left over. Don't go spend it on drugs, hookers, and alcohol. So that's my final thoughts.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
no, that's good advice. I mean, because this guy, I mean, I think he went to the Jaguars. I think it was
Yes.
2015.
Yeah.
First round draft, but he was like a could not miss pick. And I guess that is a really cautionary tale of, you reach the peak and then you just fall off. And man.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
here's another cautionary tale. I don't mean to drag out my final thoughts, but we're still before 10, so we're good. So this quarterback, Nico, where's it from Tennessee, was getting $2 million a year in NIL. Well, he says, you know what? His dad said, "No, son, you deserve $4 million." He goes, "No, Dad, I'm good with $2 million." "No, son, you need $4 million." He says, so his dad talked him into sitting out of spring training, right? Because he wants $4 million for NIL. And the coaching staff said, "Nope, you're not bigger than the team." So he was asked to leave the team, no longer part of the team. He goes to UCLA for $2 million. He goes from Tennessee to UCLA to make the exact same amount of money. However, he's at UCLA. Guess what? California has an income tax. The price of gas in California is like $1.50 more than it is the rest of the country.
Gas right now is $5.25.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm thinking. So one of the guys at Outkick.com, which is a sports website, Outkick, they did the math, and he's going to be making after taxes, fuel cost. They entertain it because dinners, everything's more expensive in California. He's been making about $800,000 a year instead of $2 million.
Yeah.
Another cautionary tale: if you're making $2 million in Tennessee, don't go take $2 million in California, because that's two different states.
Well, it would be the same thing if he went to New York too.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's hey.
Well, the thing you reminded me of, Don, when you were kind of having a hard time complimenting Ardmore, Oklahoma, I guess Oklahoma
It's
is
like me
like
saying something good about Cleveland.
Oklahoma for Texas is like Cleveland is for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Cleveland's the mistake on the lake.
Yeah.
And I noticed he had a hard time giving a compliment to Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Oh, you should hear Don talking about driving in Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma is terrible. So they had that Oklahoma Turnpike that goes like from like through Norman, through Oklahoma City, all the way across the state, Stroud, Tulsa, and I swear you need a front end alignment every time you travel it, right? And it's a toll road. You have to pay toll. You have to pay to fuck up your car. It's crazy.
Well,
Crazy.
let me tell you this, though, in defense of Oklahoma. I went to the Super Bowl in Dallas whenever Pittsburgh played Green Bay, and they had that huge ice storm, snowstorm, and where was Dallas getting all of their snow removal equipment? From Oklahoma.
Yeah. Probably right.
Dave, what's with you in the cold, Dave? You seem to seek out those cold games. Are you going to be?
I went to Kansas City when they had the first whenever Pittsburgh beat them 18-16 in the playoffs. They didn't score a touchdown but one, and they had the huge ice storm outside of Kansas City. We were driving through that to get to Kansas City. I don't know. Cold weather follows me, I think.
You don't do those polar bear events, do you, Dave?
No.
I mean, I saw you in Buffalo. It looked like you had just taken.
Oh, that was crazy.
All right, guys. Well, we had a little fun tonight. Talked about some college wrestling, some of the things that we don't usually talk about. But I hope everybody had a good time. And next week it'll be we'll see how our draft picks worked out. Who's down with who? Mr. Daly will be joining us since the Broncos pick at 20 and we pick at 21. I thought that might be a good little matchup for us there. We do have some common needs, but we'll see. So I look forward to the draft show next week. Everybody have a good night. Make sure. Don, how's your Rangers and Astros doing down there?
You know what? I haven't looked at the I've looked at the standings in a couple of days. Astros are doing okay. Rangers not so much. Last I looked.
All right. Well, we already talked about the Pirates. You know how they're doing. So, yeah. All right, guys. Have a good weekend, and we hope everyone has a good and safe weekend, and hope your team does good in the draft. So
All right.
we look forward to talking to everybody next week. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Ciao.